Hello friends, and I welcome all of you to this course on British poetry. We are on Unit 3 and discussing a seminal text from last 3 units. Unit 1 also we talked about this Tale of Wife of Bath. In Unit 2 also we talked about the same text, and we are on the second lecture in Unit 3 where we will discuss another aspect of this text, the Canterbury Tales, specifically talking about the Tale of Wife of Bath. In the last class, we talked about one aspect, naming it as the Tale of Wife as a pivotal character. Why do we call Wife of Bath as a pivotal character? There are other female characters also, not only in the works of Geoffrey Chaucer, but in the works of other writers also. Then why Wife of Bath can be considered as a pivotal character? Friends, there are specific reasons for it. All of us know that Wife of Bath married 5 times in her life. Now she is an aged lady. Okay. She do not name her first 4 husbands, and there is a suspicion of the murder of her 4th husband by herself. But when we talk about the 5th husband, she calls her with the name. The name of her 5th husband is Jenkin, Jenkin. So what could be the reasons due to which she names only 5th husband and not the first 4? The reason was clear from our earlier, let's say, class, that the first 4 husbands considered her as an object, inferior to her. They married her to fulfill their sexual lust, sexual desires. But the 5th husband knew his place. He knew that he is half of the age of Wife of Bath and he cannot dominate her. Another very important word which we had seen in the last class, the word was genteel. So now why this word genteel is again and again repeated in the Wife of Bath's tale, and what message she tried to, let's say, give from this word. In the modern English, there is a word gentle, Gentle. Gentle means someone who is very kind, who is very, let's say, helpful, who is very sympathetic. So Wife of Bath is using this word gentle in the reference of the males who treat women abusively, whether the woman is their wife, their daughter, their family member, or their colleague, or any other lady in the society. So she is trying to give a message to all those males that they need to be gentle towards females. And maybe this concept of sovereignty, which is the message of Wife of Bath's tale, the sovereignty which indicates the freedom of a female from the chains and restrictions imposed upon her through males, is something which came from this gentleness. Maybe Wife of Bath also knows that conflict with the males is not a solution in the society. There need to be a harmony between males and females, and that harmony can only occur if the males will become gentle towards the females in the society, which is why she is emphasizing too much on the word gentle. The males must learn manners, behavior, how to, let's say, behave with the females in the society, and which is why she also wants a harmony between the males and females in the society. An equal, let's say, weightage and equal importance and equal status need to be given to females and males in the society. So we can say that in the 14th century, Wife of Bath is a voice of the females who are being dominated by the males in the society. Now, moving to this lecture, what are we going to, let's say, do in this lecture? This lecture is again a 30 minutes lecture. where we are going to learn wife of Bath as a character harboring contradictory criticism. Now today's lecture will be devoted on the criticism. What is, let's say, wife of Bath's character? How critics have taken this character? So what will be the outcome, what you are going to learn from this lecture? You would be able to understand wife of Bath as a portrait contradicting between classical values and modernity. So this will be something which we are going to learn. What are the classical values which are imposed on the human society, on males and females, and how the modernity is shattering all those, let's say, classical chains, classical restrictions, classical values. And there is a contradiction which is happening between the classical values and modernity, visible in the appearance, in the body language, in the behavior of wife of Bath. So we are going to discuss all these aspects into this lecture. So with this, let us begin our discussion on this contradictory criticism aspect. The first thing which we are going to discuss is the critical intention. What is the critical intention of wife of Bath, or the critiques who are talking about wife of Bath? It is easier to agree that there is social criticism in the wife of Bath's prologue, and tell then to agree what the main target of that criticism are. This is right, friends. We are looking at wife of Bath's prologue and tale as a social criticism of the 14th century society, and that might be the intention of Geoffrey Chaucer as well, behind writing this character. The text is delivered by an ironic author narrator through an unreliable narrator. The wife lies and lacks evidence of its reception by the narratees except by the friar, who would have an interest in giving a put down to the women who has encroached on scholaristic matters. Friends, when we look at wife of Bath, we see that when she was narrating her tale, everyone was appreciating her except the friar. Friar was a person who belonged to the church, who believed in the authorities of church over women, and he was offended when wife of Bath was taking references from scholastic matters, like taking reference from the old writers like Dante, etc. So he was not interested. He was very, let's say, feeling offended that how can a lady can be so scholastically talking about all these issues. Only males are allowed to read so much and talk about these. All of us know, friends, that wife of Bath was an illiterate lady. Whatever experience she had of the practical life, she talks about those things only. Interpretation will inevitably vary widely. We have no evidence of Chaucer's intention. So friends, why, let's say, critiques came into picture? Because Chaucer never gave any conclusion of about wife of Bath or about her tale. So critiques are there to interpret all these things and to evaluate what Chaucer's intentions are. So on the basis of the criticism, we can discuss the aspect of men and women as a, let's say, major aspect of conflict in the let's say, tale of wife of Bath. Let us see how. Men could be seen as targets of social criticism, since in the prologue they are imputed to the controlling and misogynistic. In the tale, the crime is committed by men. When we look at this story, friends, we see that there is, let's say, a kind of controlling and misogynistic approach in, let's say, the wife of Bath's story, by men over, let's say, female, or female over male. In the tale, the crime is committed by a man. And what is that crime? All of you know that there is a knight who rapes a young girl in the beginning of the tale of wife of Bath. In the prologue, women are represented as gossipy and manipulative, and depending on your interpretation, as resourceful and outspoken in tackling the inequalities of their situation in marriage. Friends, when we talk about the prologue to The Wife of Bath, we see that Chaucer is portraying women of the 14th century as gossiping ladies, manipulative ladies. They are not, let's say, intelligent, but they are resourceful and outspoken from whatever they hear from others. They are, let's say, able to tackle the inequalities in marriage. It suggests that females understand that they are being dominated by males in the society, and especially in the marriage relationship. The tale superficially values women and their opinions. For example, their views are sought in the quest, but basically denigrates them. How? Let us see. There are three ways of doing it. First, the old woman has to be transformed into a young woman to be seen as being entirely satisfactory. This is again, friends, let's say a male dominating approach into the society, suggesting that the old women do not have value in the society. Rather, a young woman had a value, which is why the old lady, the wife of knight, transforms herself into a young lady at the end of the tale of Wife of Bath. Second, the raped young girl who might validly have spoken for wronged women disappears from the text. So, there is no reference of that young girl who was raped, who was being raped in the beginning of the story. Nobody wished to talk about it, not even Chaucer. And the third is, only the queen is an example of a wise and powerful female, though even she has solicited her power from her husband. This is again a critical opinion, friends, that King Arthur gives the, let's say, gives the permission to his wife to treat the case of this knight. So, suggesting that queen is shown as wise and powerful, but not the other females in the society. So, it means very limited females are privileged to get complete freedom into the society, and that freedom is also not complete because queen started speaking only after King Arthur, her husband, gives her permission to speak and deal this case. The next aspect which shows that critical contradiction is the wife. How this is different? Chaucer's representation of the wife has been labeled as being both feminist and anti-feminist. Depending on your point of view, either of these descriptions might provide a form of social criticism, either of the wife or of the social world she inhabits. Friends, when we talk about this tale of the Wife of Bath, we can say that Chaucer has represented this wife of Bath, he has portrayed this wife of Bath as feminist also and anti-feminist also. So, there is a, let's say, wife of Bath is, her personality is a kind of contradiction in the 14th century female representation. It is a kind of social criticism. Chaucer cleverly uses a first person narrator so that we are drawn to make our own judgments of the wife, but these judgments are belied by ironies and contradictions. So, friends, Chaucer wished to keep this open ended. Let the readers decide, although he is a first person narrator in the story, but let the readers decide that what kind of personality Wife of Bath is. Let the readers judge that whether she is, let's say, ironical or contradictory in her appearance. She argued forcibly against misogynist views of women, but reveals herself as a violent, dominating woman, ready to trade sex for material advantage. So, we can see from the dialogues of Wife of Bath that she is against the misogynistic views of women. But on the other hand, herself is proved as a violent, dominating woman and a very practical kind of lady who can, let's say, get material advantages of trading in sex. Ironically, she reveals herself to be a garrulous, indiscreet, deceitful woman. The jangleries and the gossip that has been under attack by male authorities. We can say, friends, that whatever males think about women, the males who feel jealous, the male who hate women, whatever they think about women, the similar kind of portrait is given by Chaucer to this wife of Bath. Maybe he wished to, let's say, mock on those males who take the freedom of such kind of women, because wife of Bath is shown as very confident and she cannot be dominated by any man. In the case of her fourth husband who had a mistress, we can assume that she killed that man, suggesting that she is more powerful than men and no such man can dominate her in this society. There is a moment of poignancy in Chaucer's handling of her when she acknowledges her aging. So we can say that there are scenes where wife of Bath acknowledges that she is aging now and she need to become young again, but she had no choice. She is someone who is, let's say, playful, but she do not have the age to do all these things. So the tale of wife of Bath also suggests that she want to become young again. The knight's wife become young again, although she was old in the end of the story. The same, let's say, explains the intention of wife of Bath as well. Chaucer gives the wife a crucial and challenging point about the depiction of women in texts when she asks, who painted the lion? Now, when we look at the prologue, we see that wife of Bath is a crucial and, let's say, challenging point about the depiction of women. How women should be portrayed into that British society. This is a crucial point, this is a challenging point about all females and males in the society, and that is visible in the dialogues of wife of Bath when she says that who painted the lions. Why? Because lions are suggested as the, let's say, symbols of men in the society. The violence, the dominance and the power and all kind of, let's say, authority is visible in the appearance of lion, and males generally consider themselves as equal to lion. But wife of Bath is, let's say, trying to change this symbol into the male dominating society. The wife's declared intention is playful. She claims that she sets out to entertain. So we might also consider that the fictional wife is elaborating an exaggerated fiction of her marriages for the amusement of the listeners. We can understand, friends, that wife of Bath's marriage is an exaggerated fiction. Maybe she, in real life, she had not married 5 times, but there is an exaggeration suggesting the amusement for the listeners. Chaucer wants to amuse the readers when they come to know about the biography of wife of Bath, and maybe we can call autobiography because she was narrating about her own life in the prologue to Canterbury Tales. She is Chaucer's creation, but she is created from a literary tradition in which there is a model for the sexually experienced older women. So friends, we can say that Chaucer, although had created this character wife of Bath, but it doesn't mean that this character is completely new for Chaucer. Such kind of portrayal of sexually experienced older women, this kind of notion used to exist in Chaucer's age, in Chaucer's time, and which is why he had created a model of such kind of, let's say, portrait. It is interesting to read extracts from Jean de Meun's Romance of the Rose, which feature the old women reflecting on her strategies and her declining power. So we had seen other examples also in the society. Take this one, Romance of the Rose, it's a book which is again featuring the old women as, let's say, with some strategies and declining powers of the society existing where they used to live. The next aspect which talk about this contradictory criticism is marriage, how marriage is portrayed and visible in Chaucer's times. The state of marriage is presented as unsatisfactory in the prologue, where even the mutual agreement of Ellison and Jenkin is only achieved after mutual care and woe. When we, friends, talk about the marriage relationship, how it is portrayed in the Canterbury Tales, we see that even the mutual agreement between Ellison and Jenkin was not able to create a harmony in this marriage relationship. Why? Because that old lady wife of Bath needed complete sovereignty, complete freedom and complete dominance over her husbands. The wife's intention is to speak of the woe that is in marriage certainly becomes ironic. It may be doubly ironic in that the wife really does reveal the woe that is in marriage, where the partners are unequal. So, it is the, let's say, woe, or the woe can be considered as a mutual agreement, mutual care, mutual respect, but that is not visible in any of the relationships of wife of Bath. Whether she was dominated in the marriage or she is dominating the husband in the marriage. So, there is a kind of unequal relationship which is visible in her marriages. In the wife's tale, the knight, even though he is a pre-14th century Arthurian knight, flouts any ideal of chivalry by raping a young girl. His high social and moral status has been belied. Friends, when we talk about the old British society, the knights were considered as of the highest order. And if the knights are raping the young girl, suggests that there was a corruption and complete, let's say, dominating mindset of the male soldiers over the females in the society. Chaucer may also be criticizing the notion of a social order, which associates gracious and courteous behavior with noble birth and high status. Friends, we can see that Chaucer's Wife of Bath tale is a criticism on the social setting or social order of the 14th century society. He might be talking about the noble birth or high status and how these people are dominating the lower section of the society. The behavior of the knight at the beginning of the tale graphically demonstrates the moral and bankruptcy of this idea. This is right, because there is that kind of dominance or violence visible in the behavior of the knight. It is then exposed by the old women's rhetoric. She proves that a definition of gentilese should not depend on noble birth, but on those actions which reflect God's grace. So, we had seen it, friends, in the definition of gentilese which is given by the old lady. The old lady says that noble birth is not important, but the actions of an individual which are related to the God's grace, how God is, let's say, behaving, or how, let's say, one must behave according to the morals of God, that is more important than a person's age. Together, this could represent an attack on the contemporary social order in which the knight has a high status. So, when knight rapes the young girl, this is, let's say, irony on the high status in the society. So, even the knights are not free from that, let's say, that dominance or that viciousness in their behavior. The next aspect which shows about that contradiction is the idea of pilgrimage. How, let's say, people used to go to the pilgrimage. This is a positivity of journey, but the journey is shown with full of negativity and negative characters. They are not believers of God, but they are just traveling for fun. So let us talk about this. The nature of some of the tales told by the fictional pilgrims on the journey, that is the wife's prologue and the miller's tale, highlight the secular and bawdy enjoyment of the fictional journey to the religious shrine. So, we can see, friends, that the wife's prologue or the miller's prologue suggest that they are doing this journey just for fun, just for enjoyment, but there is nothing religious in their attitude. The wife demonstrates awareness of other pilgrimage sites, but not the pity with which they should be associated. When we talk about, let's say, the wife of Bath's story or her personality, we feel that there is a kind of, let's say, pity which is associated in her behavior. Chaucer is perhaps highlighting the contemporary disquiet about the secular aspect of pilgrimage. Maybe from these characters, Chaucer is trying to say that one must be secular while moving on the pilgrimage. One must be, let's say, noble. One must be moral, which is why Chaucer has created such, let's say, pilgrims in that pious journey. He wished to criticize the British society. Next aspect which creates the critical opinion is the church. How church is presented in the society and how church is portrayed in a different manner by Geoffrey Chaucer in this work. At the beginning of the tale, there is an attack by the wife on friars as being licensed and licentious. In 68, page number 68 of the prologue, the wife argues for own judgment, a reference to one's own judgment on scriptural and moral matters, which might well resonate with the listeners aware of the challenge to the Catholic Church presented by Wycliffe. Friends, we had seen in this story that wife of Bath is shown as a revolt against the supremacy of church. In the 14th century, if one has to take some moral advice or what is written in the scriptures, then one has to go to some friar or some authority of the church. Only these people had the right to explain what is there, critically explain what is there written in these, let's say, religious books. But wife of Bath, she herself is explaining everything. She is basing the examples from the scriptural books and moral matters, suggesting that she want to make herself free from the authorities of Catholic Church, which is presented in the writings of other contemporary writers like Wycliffe, etc. So all these things suggest that wife of Bath's voice is a voice against the supremacy of church and against the supremacy of male dominance into the 14th century society. We can understand that wife of Bath is judgmental about and critically judgmental about all the, let's say, systems in her society. She is looking at all these things very critically, although she is an illiterate lady, but she wishes to explain everything in her own terms, in her own conditions. She has self-confidence, she is a self-lover, she loves herself, she respects herself, she respects her opinions, and she respects her judgment. She thinks that she is wise, she is confident, and which is why whatever she is saying is respected by all other pilgrims except few, let's say, related to the church, those who do not like the women talking too much about religion and scriptures. Otherwise, all other people like the personality and opinion of wife of Bath in prologue to the Canterbury Tales. So I hope that you have now understood that why wife of Bath is a kind of contradiction, a kind of contradictory character in her appearance. That is all for today. Thank you for listening.